Can you imagine? It's the late 18th century. You're a French scientist, and you receive an invitation to join a secret military expedition under the command of a young and promising general, Napoleon Bonaparte. The destination and duration are unknown. You think a little and agree, because this expedition will surely make history. And that's what happens. You get to witness legendary battles and discover the equally legendary Rosetta Stone. You're watching History Adventures. I'm Alina. At the end of this video, I'll tell you the outcome of your expedition, so keep watching till the end. But first, check if you're subscribed to our channel. If not, make sure to subscribe right now and give this video a like. Political coups, social unrests, and murders.
The year 1789 marked the beginning of the French Revolution. The king's rule was overthrown. Many European monarchies were displeased and decided to force France to go back to the old government form. A war broke out, lasting 5 long years, with battles fought across different parts of Europe.
Unexpectedly, the Italian military campaign turned out to be the final one. The main role was played by the young and already popular General Napoleon Bonaparte. He literally brought peace back to Europe.
Only one old rival of France remained, Great Britain. The British didn't agree to a truce with a young republic, so what could France do to prevail? Invading didn't sound like a very good plan. Britain didn't have a land border with France. What they did have was a powerful fleet, so it would have been impossible to land on the shores of England. So France got an idea to strike the British economy instead. England had colonies in northern Africa and India conducting monopoly trades, which brought a hefty sum into its treasury.
The French decided to sever Great Britain's trade ties and establish supplies to their advantage. They considered Egypt the best starting point for their invasion of India.
The expedition was prepared quickly and in great secrecy. It included over 35,000 soldiers, 10,000 Marines, a fleet of 13 ships of the line, and hundreds of transport ships. But Napoleon desired fame not only from military victories, but also from scientific discoveries. So he recruited scientists of every kind: engineers, mathematicians, archaeologists, doctors, artists, geologists, more than 150 specialists across every field. All of them agreed to participate in the military campaign, despite not knowing their destination or how long the expedition would take. In May of 1798, the French fleet set off.
Only at sea did they learn they were headed to Egypt. Europe was holding its breath. Newspapers made outrageous claims, from landing in England to capturing Constantinople. The English held watch at Gibraltar, led by the famous Admiral Nelson.
When Nelson realized the French didn't care for the British islands, he rushed to catch up with them in the eastern Mediterranean Sea to destroy their plans. By lucky coincidence, the two fleets didn't meet. Nelson's fleet got to Alexandria a bit too soon. No one had yet heard of Napoleon or the French there. Nelson continued the chase. As soon as his ships left, Napoleon's army appeared. On their way to Egypt, they'd already captured Malta. Look, what a great location, right in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea.
The rulers of Egypt at that time were the Ottoman sultans, but in the 18th century, they'd weakened, and real power was in the hands of the Mamluks. They were former slaves who, since the Middle Ages, had been taken as children from the Caucasus and Balkans and trained in the Ottoman tradition to serve in the military in Egypt.
Many of them were Europeans, Slavs, Circassians, and Georgians. These warriors were strictly disciplined and were rich and powerful. They were the Knights of the East. Napoleon claimed he had come just to fight the Mamluks to give power back to the Ottoman sultans. He and his army landed in Alexandria, which was captured fast and with minimal losses. Bonaparte left a small party there and set off for Cairo. He needed to take a second large city. Not far from Cairo, they were met by the Mamluks. 20 of July 1798, the Battle of the Pyramids took place. One legend says that while riling up his army, Bonaparte said,
"Soldiers, from the top of those pyramids, 40 centuries are contemplating you."
The battle was a success. The French defeated the Mamluks with minimal losses.
A A couple of weeks later, the English, still under Nelson's command, arrived in Egypt. That battle went down in history as the Battle of Aboukir Bay, not to confuse this battle with the land battle that would occur a year later. I'll tell you about it afterwards.
Okay, the naval battle, faulty tactics and recklessness of Vice Admiral François-Paul de Brouet led to the French fleet being destroyed. The Republic's frigates were simultaneously attacked from the sea and the shore. This battle is considered the greatest, most brilliant victory in the history of the British Navy. Nelson established a blockade, cutting off Bonaparte's forces from the mainland with no support or supplies.
Yet, despite his defeat, Bonaparte didn't lose his enthusiasm. He did his best to get Egypt under his control. You know, the French hoped to see the beauty and riches of the East. Egyptian gold, ancient temples. Instead, they found ruin, heat, and filth.
So they set down to restoring order, establishing administrations and courts, widening streets, constructing schools, mills, and bridges, and opening hospitals.
But all these projects required money, so they raised taxes. Locals weren't happy with strangers doing as they pleased in their homeland. Rebellions started, but Bonaparte successfully stifled them. In Cairo, he founded the Institut d'Egypte for the French scientists.
There was no limit to their curiosity. They studied everything: the political system of the ancient kingdom, its laws, culture, history, flora, and fauna. They aimed to create a full classification of all species inhabiting Egypt. The description of species alone took 1,500 pages. They carefully studied mineralogy, created detailed maps, and drew plans and facades of ancient monuments, many of which no longer exist, preserved only in scientific papers. The scientists did tremendous work describing the country contemporary to them. Naturally, they studied the pyramids too. In August of 1799, Napoleon visited the Great Pyramid. He asked to be left alone in the pharaoh's tomb, as Alexander the Great had once done, whom Napoleon admired since childhood. After a while, Bonaparte came out pale and shaken. When asked what happened, he said he wouldn't discuss it. Much later, at the end of his life on St. Helena, he remembered the incident but changed his mind, shook his head, and said, No, what's the point? You won't believe me anyway." The reason he was shocked remains a great mystery.
During the expedition, another event occurred that would greatly impact science. A French officer, Pierre-François Bouchard, found a fragment of a stone stele in the town of Rosetta. It contained a text in 3 alphabets, similar to how we now have subway signs in different languages.
The alphabets were ancient Greek, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and Demotic, a cursive Egyptian writing. Why the combination of these 3? During the Hellenistic period after Alexander the Great's conquests, ancient Greek and Egyptian cultures merged. Greek was the official language of the law. Egyptian priests used only hieroglyphs, and Demotic script was used by common people.
The study of the Greek decree revealed it was a memorial stele created in 196 BC. Egyptian priests dedicated it to Ptolemy V. The hieroglyphs and Demotic script could not be deciphered. For centuries, while Egypt was under Mamluk rule, the ancient writing and language were forgotten. They're dead. What should we do? Scientists from different countries tried to decipher the stone for years. The brightest researchers were 2 of the most talented of their time, known for their skills and dedication.
The first was Thomas Young, an aristocrat, English scientist, mathematician, physicist, doctor of medicine, and philologist who knew 13 languages and established a wave theory of light. The second was Jean-François Champollion, a young genius and polyglot from a small French village. He was still a kid when he first saw the Rosetta Stone. When he learned no one could read it, he said, "I'll do it," and began learning ancient languages, dedicating his life to deciphering the scripts on the stone. Young used a matching approach. and successfully translated a few words. Champollion didn't guess meanings, but sought to understand the system behind the writing, making the language accessible for further study.
Since the 4th century, it was thought hieroglyphs were picture writing. This assumption went almost completely unquestioned. All previous attempts at decipherment led to dead ends. Then one day it dawned on Champollion, well, what if hieroglyphs didn't represent specific words? What if the ancient Egyptian alphabet was syllabic? Why not? A simple shift in perspective changed everything. This was the crucial clue.
He assumed Ptolemy's name in hieroglyphs was enclosed in a frame. He was correct. Thanks to the Coptic language, he made progress. The easiest part, double S at the end. The first sign looked like the sun, Ra in Coptic. Then an M in the middle. Together, it reads Ramesses. Champollion deciphered the writing in his early 30s, in the 1820s.
It was a sensation. Documents could be read. Scientists learned who built the pyramids and when, what gods Egyptians worshipped, and why they mummified. Thanks to Champollion, we got closer to understanding this ancient civilization as a whole. Meanwhile, in Egypt, scientists were still on the verge of important discoveries. Bonaparte, however, faced very different problems. France controlled Egypt, but was constantly threatened by the English from the sea. The situation worsened rapidly. The Turkish government refused to support Napoleon and formally declared war on the Republic.
In Syria, with English support, a Turkish army was formed. Bonaparte attacked the Turks to prevent their invasion of Egypt. The campaign was arduous, with unbearable heat, water shortages, and a spreading plague. On April 6th, near Mount Tabor in Acre, the French struck and defeated the Turks. The threat from Syria seemed gone temporarily, but the Turks persisted. On June 11th, 1799, the Turks arrived in Egypt at Aboukir Bay and captured the fort. The land battle of Aboukir, a year after the naval one, was led by Bonaparte, who emerged victorious and defeated the Turkish army.
But since Nelson had destroyed their fleet, Napoleon knew their retreat from Egypt was only a matter of time. The campaign's result was clear. They couldn't hold their positions and would eventually surrender. Bad news also came from the mainland. A war with a new anti-French coalition was beginning.
Bonaparte ordered preparation of a few frigates and, with his best generals, left Alexandria in great secrecy. It was a shrewd political move to avoid blame for the Egyptian campaign's failure and seize power in Paris, slipping from the Directory's hands. On October 9, 1799, Napoleon landed in France. He was hailed as a hero everywhere. People applauded him. They adored him. Within a month, he executed a coup, overthrew the Directory, and proclaimed himself first consul.
You might think his ambitions stopped there, but his plans did not. In reality, he was just getting started. He dreamed of a major continental war. Bonaparte tried to actively help his army in Egypt and improve its overall strategic position, but only a few years later, the government signed a convention for troop evacuation.
However, Britain didn't allow the scientists free passage. They had to surrender some artifacts, including the Rosetta Stone, now displayed in the British Museum in London. Recently, the Egyptian government requested its return, but England refused.
Summing up the results of the Napoleon's campaign, first and foremost, we should note its great cultural contribution, because the attempt to maintain positions in Egypt ended in failure.
More than 20 volumes of scientific papers on Egypt, published after the expedition and the decipherment of the Rosetta Stone, gave birth to a new science, Egyptology. The French found the key to the gates of an ancient and mysterious civilization. Ancient Egypt became a trend in Europe, and Egyptian motifs became an integral part of the empire style.